In reality, this is probably one of the hardest things about being an apprentice in a skilled trade. Now, specifically the lineman trade, because that is the trade I'm the most familiar with. I'm a journeyman lineman, been a journeyman lineman for about 3.5 years, been in the lineman trade since 2017. And this is just, I've seen, now that I'm a lineman and I've been around, I've worked with many different crews, many different foremen and other linemen, and have had many different apprentices. I kind of see and hear on, there's a lot of chatter and, whispers or however you want to call it or say about the apprentice between the foreman and the journeyman. A lot of the times the journeyman and the foreman, they won't talk directly to the apprentice. It's kind of like, there's a little hush-hush group over here between the journeyman and the lineman and the foreman, and they'll talk about, man, this apprentice, he does this, this, and this, and this, and this, and that, and that, and this, and he sucks at doing this. And at the end of the day, that only really kind of hurts the apprentice, right? And this is the hardest part I see about being an apprentice in a competitive trade like the lineman trade. The hardest part about being an apprentice right now in a trade like the lineman trade, so competitive, is the high expectations. Now, in the previous videos, I talked about 3 things to consider, and high expectations is one of them. But I've been seeing this so much lately. Like I said, being a lineman, the foreman whispers, the foreman and the 2 linemen or the 2 journeymen, we'll all kind of be in our own little circle over there talking and be like, man, so-and-so, like, he sucks, or, he doesn't know what he's doing, or this and that. And they tend to talk crap about the apprentice or the groundman. And, that only hurts the apprentice or groundman because ultimately they need to know these things as well. You also have linemen and foremen or journeymen that are good at telling the apprentice straight up, like, hey man, you need to work on this. And that's what I try to do. So a lot of the times when we have these little, conversations amongst the journeymen, I will take what I hear and I will just go up to the apprentice, like, hey man, this is what we think as a collective, as the journeyman on the crew. This is what we see wrong with you. And these are some things that you need to fix. You need to kind of get a grasp on. You need to look for. The expectations are so high, and that's just reality. That's the harsh reality of being an apprentice in the trade like the lineman trade. Because every apprentice we get, we just automatically expect them to kind of already know how to do certain things. But the issue is, if you're a first step or if you're a groundman, or even if you're a second or third step, because the lineman trade and other trades are so big that there's so many different avenues you do within a specific trade, you're gonna have these different avenues within the lineman trade. Like, you're gonna have transmission, you're gonna have distribution underground, distribution overhead, substation. You're gonna have these different categories within one trade. Now, if you're a groundman, a first step, second, even third step apprentice, and you've never done distribution underground work before, and all you've done is, let's say, transmission, you're a groundman or a first step apprentice on a transmission crew, and all you're doing there was getting material ready, hauling material out to the right of way where the guys are working, bolting structures together, like things like that. That's a completely different scope of work than doing underground distribution, putting in primary cable underground, terminating, things like that, things of that nature. If you've never done that kind of stuff before, but here's the issue I see, or we all see, is that the linemen on the crew, the journeymen on the crew, don't necessarily care that all you've done is transmission. They already have the expectation, because you're an apprentice, that you should know how to do distribution work, doing underground work. You should know how to terminate, do a 750 splice or a 750 termination or a number 2 elbow. The crappy thing about it is that you don't know how to do it, but there's an expectation that you know how to do it, or they expect you to know how to do it. If you want to learn more about the lineman trade, how to exactly get started, and things are going to help you while you're in an apprenticeship and to get started in an apprenticeship, there's a course online. Go to the website, bluecollaredu.com. I'll have a link in the description down below, and that's going to be extremely hard. So I realized that when I was about a second step, my first job call out as an apprentice was doing transmission work, working on transmission line, out on the right of way, in the middle of nowhere, doing that whole thing. That scope of work is so much different than doing distribution. Are there things that apply? Sure. Rigging, some math, the work ethic, things like that. Sure, those skills apply, but the scope of work is so vastly different. So when I went from transmission to distribution, when I got transferred, I knew not a darn thing about doing distribution work, right? Like setting a distribution pole, doing hot work. We were doing a hot reconductor, which is you got an energized 3-phase line going down the road, and you're going in, you're setting new poles, you're spreading the linemen in the air, I wasn't a hot apprentice yet, are spreading the distribution. They are setting a new pole in the hot primary. They're transferring the wire to the new pole. They're pulling in new wire. Like these things I have never done before. Working with distribution transformers, like there's a lot. And when you get thrown in from one specific kind of work in the trade to a different one, and you have no idea, it's actually pretty overwhelming as an apprentice. But as an apprentice, you're just gonna have to realize, like, yes, these things are overwhelming, and here are a few things that you can do to help with the overwhelmingness, with the expectations that people are going to be just like expect you to know how to do or what to do, is you just have to take notes. Physical notepad, have a literal physical notepad. Every time you do something new, write steps down, write notes down. We all have a cell phone, and I encourage a lot of apprentices to do this, is you almost always have a cell phone on you. I don't really have mine on me most of the time. I usually carry mine I just leave mine in the truck or in my lunchbox, because I don't like to be distracted with the phone and stuff. I just don't need it while I'm actually physically working. But as an apprentice, you probably have your phone in your pocket. Every time you do something new, take your phone out, quickly snap a picture, take a quick video. That way you can go home, do the homework, like study these things, right? Like if you've never done, this is just an example, is building a ground ring, your system neutral ground in a primary 750 cabinet, switching cabinet, and you've never done that before, you've never seen it before. Well, we just did one, me and you together, just saying hypothetically, we just did one together. I showed you how it's done. And now once it's done, why not take a picture or video of it really quickly? No one's gonna get mad at you for doing that. No one's going to. If anything, they're gonna be like, oh, cool, right? So take a picture, take a video, and then that way go home, study at night. Just take 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, look at these things and just see, okay, so the next time, because there's gonna be a next time where you're gonna be doing that same exact thing, you're gonna be expected to do that same exact thing. You know how to do that thing. And that task, there's thousands of different tasks that apprentices like, oh, you're gonna do the grounds. You're gonna be doing this, X, Y, Z. We're just gonna expect you to know how to do these things or to do these things. Best way you can do that is to just study for these things. Take a picture, take a video. This day and age, there's really no excuse. Now, yes, if you come to me and say you've never done this kind of work before, I'm gonna take the time and I'm gonna try to show you and teach you. But like I've said in previous videos, that's not the case all the time for every journeyman out there. A lot of journeymen, they just short-tempered, short fuses. They're like, man, you're a stupid idiot. You don't know what you're doing. And then they just brush you aside. They do it so the work can get done quickly, more efficiently. But at the end of the day, you're an apprentice. You need to step up. You need to ask questions. You need to want to learn, show the intent of wanting to learn. Take pictures, take a video, take notes, because there's extremely high expectations, and I hear it, I see it, and I understand. And there are other linemen out there that understand that, okay, you're an apprentice. You've never seen this kind of work before. You've never done this kind of work before. It's our duty to teach you. However, that doesn't mean there's not going to be high expectations for you. With Blue Collar EDU, I'm here to expose, teach, educate you about blue collar career opportunities and things that'll help you get started in skilled trade. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one.